Brisbane's skyline is being transformed. Just a block away, the main company behind this $3 billion city facelift is being probed about its history of questionable conduct.
I do accept that our policies and procedures weren't strong enough. No, I think in hindsight, we clearly should have been asking more questions from that point.
Star Entertainment executives have been giving sworn evidence to a commission of inquiry into the operation of its existing casino licences in Brisbane and on the Gold Coast. With Star admitting it should not have opened its doors to highly suspicious cashed-up gamblers banned from casinos in other states.
It's hard to think of a more overwhelming case where some sort of exclusion was absolutely essential.
I agree.
Last week, 730 revealed allegations of even more deeply troubling links between Star's partner in this new development, Chow Tai Fook, and organised crime.
The probity checks should have picked up these links. It's not that hard to discover what these connections are. It should have been found. It should have been discovered.
Queensland's probe follows similar inquiries in New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia that reveal damaging allegations of money laundering at their casinos.
These matters and issues have been going on for a long period of time, and I think really the government has been forced to take this step.
Star was asked about gifts it provided to a suspicious high roller, including tickets to a concert by the Village People to encourage him to try his luck on the Gold Coast. The gambler, who had been banned from New South Wales casinos by the state's police commissioner, was also given private jet flights, a $50,000 Rolex watch, and even a special birthday cake.
And any time you say to anyone, hey, we should check the casinos of which I'm the boss, that I don't have people in my casino who've been excluded by a police commissioner in another jurisdiction.
I don't recall discussing.
Also under scrutiny was evidence that Star mislabelled cash withdrawals on bank cards used by Chinese high rollers. The inquiry was told between 2017 and 2020 more than $55 million was transferred to Star's Queensland casinos by these sham transactions.
There seems to have been a desire to characterise this on the Star's part as looking like a hotel transaction rather than as a gambling transaction.
I agree with that.
These monies may be moving in breach of capital controls and, of course, trying to disguise the transactions when China is very interested to understand the motives and behaviour of its citizens when they go offshore.
Those money laundering risks are extreme. They don't come any higher.
John Chevis is an anti-money laundering consultant who gave evidence at a recent Senate inquiry. He says the false bank card descriptions also raise serious questions about the regulator.
I think a lot of it does come back to this perception amongst entities in Australia that there hasn't been much risk of being caught.
In a surprising omission, Queensland's casino regulator, the Office of Gaming and Liquor Regulation, hasn't been required to take the stand.
The government must act to broaden the scope of the terms of the inquiry that's currently underway.
Do you think the regulator should be subject to a public inquiry as well?
Well, certainly the broader inquiry would allow questions to be asked of the officers involved at the time and would enable an investigation of the documents made at that time.
You really can't just look at the acts of a licensee in isolation.
David Green worked as a casino regulator in South Australia and as an advisor to the regulator in Macau.
You really have to get the whole regulatory environment examined to say, well, why have these risks materialised in an environment which claims to have controlled them?
And that's the critical question for this development at Queen's Wharf. The Queensland Government is both an enthusiastic champion of this project and also the regulator for what is a monopoly casino licence, a licence that's made all this possible.
You've got a privileged licence from the government. You've got to be careful with that. And especially in Australia, I think where there are monopolies, I think city monopolies don't help. because you kind of get very, very cozy with the regulator because it tends to be a one-on-one relationship.
Critics argue Queensland is not the only state grappling with this conflict.
Australia has become, I won't quite call it the laughingstock of the gaming industry, but certainly it's no longer looked up to. We are now the poor man of the Asia Pacific insofar as our gambling industry is concerned.
Everyone comes out looking bad. The operator comes out looking bad, and so does the regulator. The regulator should have been on top of their operators, and I think that's Australia-wide problem.
There's further pressure to widen the scope of Queensland's inquiry, with the regulator today confirming it's investigating serious allegations about illegal junket activity at casinos in Cairns and Townsville. Queensland's Attorney-General told 7:30 no allegations of misconduct have been levelled against the regulator. The present Commission of Inquiry can still make recommendations about the regulator's future role. Meanwhile, Brisbane's new mega casino development is due to open in the second half of next year.
As everyone associated with the industry knows, governments themselves are hostage to the arrangements they've created because they are very dependent on the revenue stream generated by the casinos.